Hello everybody, hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for the support from the last video. It's been humbling, definitely showed me that there's a good reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing and that it's needed. So yeah, that's great. There are a lot of topics that I've already thought about in my head that I want to discuss, but I do think it's important to give a brief background of who I am, just so I guess it's understood where I'm coming from. And this will obviously be brief and pertaining specifically to my, gambling addiction and how I got here. I'm sure in the future, I'll talk about more things when specific topics come up. But yeah, this is just a background. So I was the youngest born, four siblings, two brothers and a sister, loving childhood. I definitely was the youngest, and because of that, I had, didn't face consequences, didn't have responsibility, and the things that come along with being the youngest. In general, when I would have, when I'd be asked things, I always felt like I wanted to do the right thing by the person asking me, but I didn't always necessarily do the right thing, so I would lie. And it would be more important that the person would be happy with me than it would be that I would tell the truth. And that's just the way that my mind worked at that time. I lied until I got caught, and it was not vindictive or anything. They were mostly just, white lies. But if it would be something where the outcome would be better, I would just choose to lie. It didn't occur to me at the time that it was a problem. I was young, I didn't think about it. Slowly, in a lot of areas, this ability to do things without thinking of the consequences ended up in me wearing two hats. I was able to present in one way and behind closed doors really do things without consequence because I didn't have to explain them to anybody. No one was looking, and I didn't tell anybody. At 16 or 17, gambling came into my life. I don't remember exactly the specifics, but the first few times I definitely remember winning. I remember the excitement, the thrill of it. It was something inherently I didn't want anybody else to be around. So if I'd go with friends, I would make sure that I'd find, a place myself alone. I didn't want to have to talk to anybody. I think subconsciously I was already ashamed and felt a bit guilty the way that I was, that I was too into it. I wasn't, and I would probably want to up the money, up the bet every time I could. And having friends around would mean that I'd have to act a lot more normal. It quickly became something that I thought about all the time. How could I gamble? When could I gamble? Where could I get money from gambling? And that's just basically what my life became about, trying to gamble whenever I could. Many events came along the way through school, through post-school, and then into when I got married, where I thought this is going to be it. This will cause me to stop gambling, because obviously I tried to stop many times. When I got married, I thought this has got to be it. Then when I had a child, I thought this has got to be it, because this is something I love so much. How could I not stop doing something that has a chance to destroy that? If I love my wife, if I love my child so much, how could I go gamble if that has a chance to destroy that? And that question, while I was gambling or while I did love those people, is something which internally causes you to go crazy. Gambling became something I loved and I hated. I loved it because I just seemed to always need to be doing it, but I hated it because it became almost the center of the worst thing of my life. Everything bad seemed to come as a result of my need to gamble. The guilt, shame, the uncomfortableness of representing to people, a confident person, whereas internally I was so, distraught with myself, also was very, very hard to deal with. Eventually, I found my way to GA, Gamblers Anonymous, when I was 23 and had been married for 3 years at that time. In short, it worked. I was able to stop. I went to the program, 6 months probably properly, and then, for another 6 months here and there. But then I'd stopped going, but I still didn't gamble because what it had done to me. But slowly but surely, 4 or 5 years later, I started thinking this is something I could do again. I'm responsible now. By that time, I'd, started a business. I thought, okay, now I'm financially secure. I'm able to do it again. Before I was too young, I didn't know what I was doing. Now I'll be okay. And therefore, I started gambling again, and really, really quickly. At first it would be, just playing poker with friends, but really quickly I'd realize when everyone else went home and the night was over, for me, in my head, I just needed things to keep going. I wasn't happy stopping gambling. I wanted to continue gambling in any way I could. By the time I was about 30 or so, I'd hit rock bottom with this gambling. Obviously it progressed, and I'd lost everything that I'd made financially over the last few years. Things were in a bad place. I had a financial and emotional crisis. I was able to stop at this point. I attended GA a few times. I attended some conferences locally and overseas. I read a lot about recovery, about self-help, and I thought I was in a really good place, and I hated gambling and what it had done to me, and I was scared of it, and I was convinced I'd never go back. But eventually, same thing happened again. I wasn't going to any weekly meetings. I'd stopped reading because I thought I was fine. Things happen in life, and all of a sudden, I find myself that I'm gambling again, which bewildered me because it's not like I forgot everything that happened. It's just somehow selective memory can cause you to just not remember the things you don't want to remember if there's something you want to do that desperately. Thankfully, this last time, it didn't cause too much financial damage. I was able to again go to GA and have been for the last couple of years, and thankfully this time around I'm doing things properly. I attend meetings every week, and I'm a lot more active in the way in my recovery. So I'm using all the things that I used before, the multiple years of being able to be abstinent, but I've also incorporated a lot more new things, which is making my recovery a lot better. I do think it's important to that's where I am now, in a nutshell. The one thing that I do think is important, and thank you if you've stayed this far, is why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why would I voluntarily put myself in a position where there's a good chance that the people who don't know me, people outside my closest circle, the first thing that they'll think of when they see me is, oh, that person, he's the person that talks about addiction, he's the addict. And that's not necessarily what I thought I would want people thinking me when they saw me. My wife and my children didn't sign up for this, for this to be their husband and father, for them to think about it. My children are already older now. This is something that I've discussed with them. And if I hadn't, then I wouldn't be able to, do what I'm doing. But gambling is a disease, and a lot of people get scared saying it's a disease as if that somehow doesn't mean that the person's doing wrong, because as if it's somehow an excuse and that's going to make it okay to do what they're doing. That's nonsensical. The way I look at it, if someone has diabetes, you don't get angry at the person with diabetes, even if you love them. You don't get angry at them for having diabetes. If they then, though, choose, when they know what the medicine is, and they know they have to take the medicine once a day or once a week or whenever it is, and they don't take it, then it's fair to get angry. I look at this the same way. The fact that I ended up being an addict, and that's the way that my brain is wired, that's just how I am with things. That's God's decision. That's how he made me, and that's how some people are made. But me knowing that through my experiences, knowing now there is a way out, and the way towards a better life is actually going through and doing this 12-step recovery, attending it every week. So it's something that I'm constantly listening to other people's stories, talking to other people with the same type issue. If I don't do that, then I can be angry at myself, but I'm not going to be angry at myself for how I was made. If I now can take everything I've done and use it and do things for the better from it, I'm pretty happy with that, and that's how I think people should be. Thanks very much. I look forward to getting the next video out. I know this is quite a long one, but I thought it was important to do. Have a good day.